like whatever the source data, whatever the design document we are having, according to that particular thing, we could able to generate. Okay, so the finalizations. So in that particular case, only one option we are having because in the implementation of the 2NF and 3NF, we came across the closer property identification and how we are making use of the convention, like all these kind of things helped us to observe the importance of the candidate key. So one of the important thing is with the candidate key we can able to generate all the attributes in the relation. That is for sure, that is the first important property. So at the outset, just whatever the relations we are having, but finally we need to scope that uh, candidate key also if we want to preserve lossless decomposition, because decomposition always suppose you are preparing something, friends, and if you are preparing something in the documentation, maybe in your project, suppose I am allocating the project in a while 1 or 2 days, so maybe the batches would be there, and the batches all they distribute the work. Maybe Harish is doing something, Sravanti is doing something, and Bharati is doing something. And finally, in the presentation, they have to integrate all those particular activities. Okay, though you are individually working, but if I am asking you to give the presentation in front of your manager or team, definitely that should be a product actually, as a unit you have to give. Similarly, though we are very passionate about the normal forms and normalization achievement, but the ultimate goal is without loss, we should able to preserve the data. So that is what you call the lossless decomposition. Okay, for that particular purpose, the candidate key is helpful. And I have put that question. Let me see how you responded to my ask. Sahu says if we lose candidate key, the records will lose identification. Absolutely. Maybe I'm having some individual primary keys, but ultimately a candidate key is something like which is a major one through which I can able to generate or populate all the remaining attributes that already we have seen. And coming to Praveen's response, we use candidate key in a relation because that can identify each unique record independently of any other data. Uh, this is a general definition because we are keep on repeating this particular definition maybe in the understanding of the keys and now in the normal forms also, because these normal forms functional dependencies are revolving around the candidate key. So that's what the reason why we are making use of that convention. And Sai Sravanti says to ensure data integrity by preventing duplicate data. Yeah, of course. If we know the candidate key, you know the other attributes. Absolutely. Because the population of that candidate key is possible to be closer. So closure of that particular candidate key maps the other attributes actually. That is one more convention. And Bharati says determining prime and non-prime. Yeah, this is also one of the important point to notify, especially friends in the normal forms. Left side generally we prefer the key, right side we prefer the non-key. I mean prime and non-prime kind of thing. In that particular case, obviously while working with any kind of the non-prime, if it is referenced by the prime, then we are happy because key generating non-key is a general fact actually. So we can dependent and we can approve that functional dependency. But some of the cases are there. Maybe non-prime is partially dependent on the candidate key. I mean subset of the candidate key. You can resolve with the second normal form. Maybe non-key is dependent on another non-key. We should resolve that in case of in the context of transitive dependency, which we achieved in the third normal form. So understanding of the candidate key, separation of the prime and non-prime set is major to study about the normal forms. So that also we come across. And Satish says all the relations, possible ways we can identify a row, every relation without null, least one candidate key, at least one candidate key, unique combination of value in each row. Okay, little bit rearrangement is required, Satish, but we have tried your best. But somewhere we have to start to project ourselves. Okay, appreciate that. And Karthikeyan says candidate key is also needed to determine the normal form. Yeah, absolutely. Without that, no functional dependency. And without functional dependency, the candidate key based. Okay, the candidate key based functional dependency relations you have to observe. Accordingly, you have to decide whether this is in the 2NF, 3NF or whichever. And Janesper says can determine all the attributes in the relation as a candidate key. Yeah, as a simple narration. And Sahid says the candidate key helps in determining the prime and non-prime, absolutely, of a table and ensure the integrity of the data by preventing duplicate. Perfect, Sahid. A nice the way of arranging the words and all. It's conveying the meaning in a perfect way. Okay. So with that, we achieved some kind of the progress in understanding of the database design, friends. Okay. Now, as I said, so this is one side actually. So because I am empowering you up to the level of database design, of course, maybe after 6 months or 1 year, you may get that particular chance of understanding the design aspects and all. But your primary role is the coding and implementation of the tables and applicability of some kind of the SQL and PLSQL aspects. Now, with respect to that particular thing, now in the MySQL genre, so we are having another concept called uh, the PLSQL base. Within that PLSQL base, we plan to cover uh, the stored routines, and thereafter we are having some kind of the triggers, and thereafter we are having some kind of the cursors, and then we are having the packages. So believe me, friends, this particular these are all aspects which are running on top of the SQL only. But only the thing is we are combining. What we are doing is we are gripping them into a program kind of aspect, and we are trying to utilize those things in a better way. Because whatever the things I am saying here, maybe the stored routines, triggers, cursors, and packages. These are all by nature de facto standards would be there. Na? Maybe the members who are from ECE and civil mechanical background, they know the de facto and de jure standards. De facto is nothing but um, by default that particular standard itself is having that characteristic. So one of the de facto standard for our 12-member team is dynamic. Okay, so that means whenever the task is giving, so automatically you're going to achieve that particular thing. So like that, all these particular different concepts which we are going to run through are all optimized in nature. We'll see one by one. And let me introduce the very first topic, the stored procedure or stored routine. Okay, so before launching what exactly the stored routine is, let me understand what do you mean by routine, and how can you refer a stored routine, and how we are going to distinguish a stored routine. So just think through, friends, share your ideas. In our day-to-day life also we use some kind of the terms like routine is a routine activity, like that we use it to say, and I am tagging that routine with the stored routine. By this time you would have got some idea somewhere it has to store, that is a stored routine. And the story is not ended here. Again, stored routine provides us some various constructs. So first let us understand this particular thing. The idea is pretty simple, guys. Here what we are doing is just will complete these initial understanding, and thereafter I will show you some 2 to 3 stored routine implementations in the command line interface and as well as the workbench. Okay, then only we can come back and discuss the characteristics and benefits of the stored routines, because that's how we are following the first we'll take some application and we understand that particular application in the implementation, like in the enumeration and as well as the generated column and the group by join options, aggregate functions, whatever the aspects we have seen. So the same approach we follow here also. But meantime, I'll wait here, guys, for you. Can you simple in one liner? What do you mean by routine? Okay, maybe non-computer aspect you can say, or else in the computer terminology also you can say whatever the means you want. So accordingly, just you can highlight those kind of the considerations. Just you refer, what do you mean by a routine activity? What do you mean by a routine? Because in the discussion of this particular procedural language, always that is important. Understanding of those particular routines and all. So how can you refer
frequently
the point? What is it? Yeah, can you repeat again?
frequently happening uh, procedure or work
Uh,
activity.
frequently happening activity. Okay, that is one thing. Any other?
A sequence of action regularly followed.
Very good. Very good. Mm. Any other? Any other obligations, friends? This is the most acceptable definition. A frequent a sequence of activities which will regularly follow. Uh, a routine is something like, friends, a usual or fixed action or a series of action repeated periodically. Okay, so uh, uh, usual, fixed, repeated. Okay, and we are tagging this thing with a periodical, which we are making the periodically. So routine activities means routine network management or database management or these kind of things, or in general the user prefer. You keep on post in the chat window, friends. Don't worry, because in the yesterday I forgot to give the star performer Vedant actually. So Vedant is the star performer today. That is open for you all. Okay, so just you make use of the appropriate opportunities to compete for the star performer of the day. So now just we are tagging this particular routine. So which is where we discuss like a usual fixed action or series of actions to perform repeatedly. Now I am projecting one diagram, friends, for you. So to better understand this particular activity. So have a look on this. If you observe this particular thing, friends, actually what I mean to say is I want to find out the maximum from date as from date and maximum to date from department. Just I am taking DEPT underscore EMP and employee number and some kind of activity. Just who has completed their in between. I want to get the employees who had joined and up to how many years they stayed with us, something like that. And based on that, we want to offer them some kind of the subscriptions, maybe repositories, or maybe if you want to award, so give some kind of the award like that. Now there are certain branches for us, maybe Bangalore, Chennai, and Hyderabad and Canada, like that. Different locations we were there. So this is a fixed activity. Maybe we run every June or July while the appraisal is going on. And based on that particular running, we may come up with some of the numbers. So here if you observe 1001 and from date and as well as the to date, some kind of the operation. But I want to repeat because this is a general every year, every anniversary, this particular activity is a routine activity. And I want to run this particular thing across all the members. So my expectation is like this, friends. So one more diagram I am pulling for you. Uh, the activity is like this. So if you refer the kind of the activity what we are observing here. So based on the locations, maybe wherever the appropriate member is located, in all those branches, I should get the corresponding information. Okay, so I'm having some kind of the activity with me and I am running that particular activity in the similar way of how I ran that activity at a single location. Okay, now you can easily observe that the capacity of running a single task at multiple locations. Okay, without again establishing a particular environment, I can make use of that particular activity and then I am performing some kind of the specifications of that. So as mentioned earlier, a routine, a usual fixed action or series of actions repeated periodically. In our case study, just we have taken some kind of appraisal process and before giving the appraisal we want to perform some kind of understanding of so how many employees were there who crossed 5 years or 4 years or 1 year like that. So just we want to run the same kind of the action or series of actions periodically. Now in the second diagram if you observe there are certain branches and locations. We planned the events at the corresponding offices due to this pandemic and all. There only we are performing, and virtually if I'm doing, then I can pull all the different locations into a common platform. But again, there is a distinction. Hyderabad, these many members were allocated for the appraisal, and as well as these many members were crossed 10 years, 5 years, like that kind of thing. So now a typical stored procedure. Okay, so just what it does is the definition itself says that. Just have a look on these guys rather than specifying. Just to observe this point, spend some time. Uh, if you refer the kind of the stored procedure, it is basically SQL statement or set of SQL statements that can be stored on a database server. Okay, you may ask me, table is storing in the database server, constraints are storing in the database server, attributes are also storing in the database server. Yes, of course, but one more statements you can observe here. It's not a sometimes maybe a single statement or set of statements also. So what I mean to say is I am packing all these kind of the statements as a common program or a common routine, and that is going to store in the database server. Now the advantage is whenever the user needs to run the query according to the requirement, they can call, refer, or invoke the routine. Okay, so here in the terminology of the procedures, call, reference, invoke, more or less give the same meaning. But whenever we are executing those particular things, definitely I'll explain those kind of aspects also, guys. So with that, we are having enough material with us so as to start with the understanding of the stored routine. So a stored routine is suppose if I want to implement some kind of the algorithms, I want to pick up some kind of the all monthly sales generated throughout a calendar year. So one year, maybe last year if I'm considering monthly sales, okay, whatever the sales happened in the last year, I want to get, and I want to return the lowest, because if we are performing everything fine, then no problem. Automatically we have done well and we are going to achieve that particular thing and we want to improve the sales. That is fine. But lowest sales is always we should not tolerate. So this is the example I am talking about, where if you refer some kind of the algorithm or implementation where it is checking all the monthly sales and generated throughout a calendar year. And second ask we are looking for is the lowest value of those particular returns. Okay, because I can do something. Maybe I can track why we are losing the business there and what is the condition, whether our how our competitors are really raising, all these kind of the strategic things we can do. So in a stored procedure kind of the construct, so it is looks like this thing. So whatever the specification, so like we are running across the appropriate minimum sales algorithm or process, whatever we are having. And now we are using the term called stored procedure here actually. So now if you observe this particular portion is a stored routine, and this particular stored routine can be called by all the locations, maybe Bangalore, Chennai, and UK, Canada, some Hyderabad, like that various locations would be there, and all these members, okay, can bring the desired result in multiple times. So what I mean to say is here the important notion to understand this particular stored routine is reusability basically. So reusability, and once you store that particular data item, automatically you can pick up the appropriate information whenever there is a requirement. Now with this, just we can start with the understanding of what is a stored routine. So in a simplest way, a stored routine is something which is performing, which is combining some SQL statements, and which we can observe in the database server. And whenever a user needs to run the query, they can call the reference. And the example is, I want to run some kind of algorithm throughout my all the branches, and I want to come up with the lowest or minimum sales happened in a particular area, so that I can do something on that. So, and apart from those kind of the conventions, as in the start of the session, we have seen some kind of the appearances like where there are stored procedures and as well as the functions. Now the scope of the topic is stored procedures. I can say these are all the stored procedures, or simply I can say as a procedures. Okay, so generally friends, a procedure which is some kind of the set of SQL statements, sorry, it is not going to return any kind of the values. Okay, so the values it is not going to return, it is performing some kind of the process. Okay, just it is attempting some kind of the process on that. But at times friends, maybe I want to return some value, because you might be knowing about a simple definition related to procedure versus function. Okay, so procedure, it is performing some it is having some set of SQL statements, and it is providing some kind of the process. It is giving us a process. It may not return any value, but function, you know, friends, just we are having some set of statements. It is related to the task, and at the end of this particular task, it is going to return some value. It is going to return some value. At the outset, I am talking, but though the procedure is meant for collecting the set of statements and achieving the process, at time you can return some value also. There is no restriction. Like I can submit some value to the function or procedure, I can return some value. But in the classic way, okay, while talking about the procedure And while talking about the function in the team or in front of the client or in front of some senior manager, you should be very clear that the standard way of defining the procedure is it is containing some set of SQL statements and it is a process of achieving some kind of the activity. But whereas in case of the function, it is having some set of statements which is used to perform a particular task. And after performing the task, it is going to return some kind of the value. That is for sure. Okay. Now, with this kind of the constructs, friends, one can easily distinguish because even though procedure may be a new term for us, uh, but function, if I'm saying periodically, we are using the aggregate functions, group by options, and along with the string functions, date time functions. So one important thing is these functions can be either the user defined functions or they can be known as the built-in functions. Okay, so if you are talking about the user defined, these things are nothing but defined by the user according to the requirement. If you want to maintain some kind of if he want to generate some kind of information or if he want to implement something according to his requirement, then he or she can go with the user defined function. Just he can establish a function and achieve that thing. But our MySQL is equipped with around 450 or 500 functions, friends, roughly. That means I can give you some kind of task also on that, at least pull some 100 to 200 as a group task. Each and every member in the group can pick up some 50 functions of such so that we can get around 150 functions. Okay, just for the sake of cheat sheet or documentation kind of thing. We'll do all these things periodically. Now, this built-in functions, maybe the aggregate functions or date time functions, give the observation of okay whatever the functionality we are having, and accordingly we can perform the process. If you are referencing these kind of the process, okay, now this is the time to open our lab equipment, and then we can try to implement these kind of thing so that maybe if you are having many doubts with that simple implementation, we can come out of that particular thing. Let me select this particular lab. Let me see whether it is in force or not. So connect. 1 minute, guys. Just a minute. So this time sharing. Okay. Yeah. And so I'm not jumping into the MySQL workbench, friends, but just as we are having communication with the lab. So let us see initially how we go with the command prompt. And then, however, we are going to run with the help of workbench. That is mandatory requirement, however. Okay. So with this, let me connect with my SQL environment. Um, this one. Yes, Control L. As I already mentioned, maybe if you're having your own kind of the lab, you can create your own database, but this is a virtual lab. Just will be we are having one common database to perform all our activities so that we habituated to use this thing. DM lab 1. Okay, so just I am making use of show tables. We are having enough number of tables as a part of our learning. We have generated some tickets, members, committees, employee UK, employee USA, EMPL, like that we have created. Whenever there is a requirement, accordingly we can make use of the corresponding things. Now the here the task is uh, a simple. Every programming will start with hello world kind of thing. here also the PLSQL. Okay, the we are combining multiple activities here. So the first important point I want to clarify here is, friends, in case of the MySQL, in general, we are using the delimiter as that semicolon. After completion of every statement, just we inform the MySQL that I am done. This is a statement. But whereas if I am talking about the procedures or functions, we know that there are some set of the statements actually. So at the moment I am talking about the set of the statements, every time if I am using the semicolon after each line, SQL, MySQL treat that as a end of the statement or end of the process. So as to avoid that particular thing, we need to instruct the MySQL that I am using a separate delimiter to close the procedure. So for that, just we'll start with the delimiter exchange. So the most common use of delimiter in the industry is double dollar. You can use any kind of the symbol at the rate, not and all, but again, you have to inform through the documentation. But the most commonly preferred, okay, the most common preferred kind of the delimiter is double dollar. And just if you hit this particular thing, now MySQL register that, oh, this double dollar is nothing but this guy is using double dollar for the termination or statement closing. Okay, so in between, if I'm using semicolon also, no problem. Okay, because MySQL wait for this double dollar as a ending of the entire process. And as a general practice, we are following. Suppose if any procedure is there, okay, drop procedure if exists. And what I am doing here is just I am creating hello world kind of thing. And again, I am mentioning this double dollar. That means the closing of the corresponding statement. So if without giving this, if I am giving colon, still it is waiting, guys. You can observe that because in the earlier uh, analysis, just if I am giving some kind of the semicolon, immediately it is coming out and responding back to us. But now as we explicitly specifying the delimiter as double dollar, MySQL is expecting to complete that particular process with the double dollar. So very simple, just you can give this double dollar, then only it is going to come out. So that is a simple narration. So if any procedure with the name hello world exists, then it is going to drop that particular thing. Now, so if you want to create any procedure, the statement is pretty simple. Create procedure. Okay, I want to give the name of that particular procedure is hello world. Okay, and one of the important thing, friends, while working with the functions or procedures, you generally make one standard so that other team members also aware that you are using a procedure or function. So create procedure hello world, just you can open up and closing brackets. So it says that we are using some kind of procedure or function. Now it is waiting, you see, just it is waiting. Now we are creating a logical begin as that of the transaction. And just to give the enter, what happened? Just a minute, friends. Okay, so begin, it got struck actually. Oh, sorry. So, and now just you press this space button for the readability. Now what I'm doing is the select statement is to display also, friends, here in the procedures. So hello world. Uh, so MySQL. Okay, just we are managing this particular thing. And even if I'm giving a semicolon, no problem. And what I'm suggesting here is end. Just I'm specifying the double dollar. Okay, so begin and end marks that, okay, we are logically implementing some kind of the steps. Okay, of course, in this example, as this in the first example, we are only interested to check whether I can able to write the procedure in this command line interface, whether MySQL is scoping that procedures or not, as a kind of the check. So for that particular thing, I followed the convention of establishing a new delimiter and dropping the procedure if already there, and then I uh, start created the procedure with the name hello world, and thereafter a logical setting up of transactions begin and as well as the end, and we are making use of select so as to display the appropriate statement, whatever the statement I want. uh, and double dollar, so just you can notify that the double dollar is something like which is closing of this particular procedure. Okay, just let me enter this. Okay, query okay, and rows affected, but I have not received any a display or something, because at the moment while using the simple select statement or whatever the functionality I'm using, immediately we will be getting the information. So there is some process here, friends. So let me go through that. So what it performs is at the moment you are talking about your procedures. So just you observe here. Um, the procedure is just now we have created create procedure hello world. So at the moment you do this particular activity with begin with some kind of the statements, and you are ending logically. This particular transaction you are ending logically. Now after achieving this particular logical establishment of the procedure, it is stored into the database. Okay, so this particular database is now containing the hello world. Of course, this is a stored procedure. Now it is residing in the database. Now we should call this thing, friends. Actually, automatically the stored procedure is not going to raise. Explicitly, we should contact whatever the stored procedure I'm having. So that can be done with call whatever the procedure name. So just I'm having hello world, and just you can mention the double dollar. So which is the process actually. So let us see how we can run this particular procedure. So in the lab, so just if I am making use of this particular convention, um, I'm calling this thing call hello world and double dollar. Okay, so the hello world MySQL procedure, the name itself is reflecting as a nice tabular format. Or else you can do like this also, call Indium Lab 1. Maybe if assume that we are having multiple databases and explicitly you want to call this particular procedure, but there certain things are there. Na? Maybe multiple databases I'm having, and this is the second way of you are very particular about your database specification also. Directly you can do like that also. Call Indium Lab 1 hello world. And one more thing, friends, though it is not preferable, but just I am revealing that point also. Uh, the third option actually. So three options we have seen. One is a typical, usually whatever the database you are using, use database, and within that database, generally the people create the procedure. That's absolutely fine. In that particular case, directly based on the name of the stored procedure, one can easily call that. But you are after some time, because this hello world is preserved, is stored in the database, and after 10 days or 15 days, maybe you populated various databases and various stored procedures according to the requirement. and you need to verify on which database your stored procedure is available. So because this is one object where it is permanently available in your DB. So you have to identify if you are working on a single DB, there is no problem. But in our projects, maybe if you are working with multiple teams, though your project is same, but multiple teams are having multiple repositories with different names. In that particular case, you should be very clear that how we are making use of these procedures related to the corresponding database information. So for that particular purpose, this is the second option where you can refer your database name and as well as the procedure name so as to run your query. Third option is also there, friend, but this leads to confusion. Reason is as I suggested strongly, like that parenthesis after the procedure gives an impression to other team members that this guy is using a function or procedure kind of thing. But if you are missed out that particular, though it is of course logically correct and syntactically approved by the MySQL, and MySQL won't give any error or something like that or warning also. It is absolutely fine for MySQL because it is already now it registered with the database. Like how you can work with aggregate functions and all. Now onwards you can use this hello world like that only. So because once you register your procedure with respect to the database, you can use however. But my strong recommendation, as in the earlier session also we have seen, while talking about the standardization of the databases, it is always preferred to follow one kind of the convention. Okay, so with respect to that particular convention, either you follow the first way, like call this particular stored procedure or function name, or if your team is working on multiple databases with each database is again having some kind of the stored procedures, it is always preferable to go with the second approach. Okay, try to avoid the third one, but as a part of the training, I am giving you all the possibilities. Okay, so with this, just we can have the initial interaction of the procedure. Can someone summarize the from starting, friends? Starting in the sense, not from the normalization. Just I'll take a pause here. So just 2 minutes I am giving time. In your context, after discussion of the stored procedure and after implementation of this particular stored procedure and after seeing that a result related to the stored procedure, and we have seen some multiple options while running and calling the stored procedure. Just you one or two statements from your point of view. What is your observation from that? I'll wait for 3 minutes, friends, just to think through and observe that how you can refer the process of the stored procedure. For you, just I am creating this thing once again. If you see, yeah, this is the initial statement we have used, but before that we have taken the dollar, and then just you observe here, friends, uh, drop statement we have used because it is saying something and done. Now there is no more. If I am calling this stored procedures as I dropped, it is causing some trouble, guys. 1 minute. Yeah. So call. Uh, Let me see how it is going to respond. See procedure. Though you are not given database name dot hello world does not exist. So what is the thing? Just again I need